Working harder is no longer the advantage it once was. Grinding longer hours is not strength. Burnout is not a badge of honor. The modern world rewards noise, urgency, and constant motion, then quietly punishes the people who follow those rules. You push, you hustle, you stay available, and yet your focus splinters, your energy leaks, and your best work never fully shows up. This is not because you lack discipline, it's because effort without inner order turns into self-destruction. Stoicism offers a different path. Marcus Aurelius governed an empire while maintaining mental clarity because he understood one essential truth. Energy is limited, but attention rules all. When you protect your mind, your work becomes precise. When you remove emotional waste, progress speeds up without draining you. This video isn't about doing more. It's about cutting what drains you. It's about working with calm force. Today you'll learn how Stoics outwork everyone, not by burning brighter, but by lasting longer, thinking clearly, and building a pace that never collapses. 1. Why hard work is burning people out. Hard work once meant progress. Today it often means slow self-erosion. The modern idea of productivity is broken. People measure effort by hours logged, messages answered, tabs kept open, and how exhausted they feel at the end of the day. The more drained they are, the more convinced they are that they must be doing something right. But exhaustion is not evidence of effectiveness. It is usually evidence of misalignment. When effort is scattered, it creates internal friction before it produces anything meaningful in the real world. Burnout doesn't come from working hard. It comes from working without clarity. Most people spend their days reacting instead of directing. They answer emails the moment they arrive. They jump between tasks mid-thought. They carry unresolved tension from conversations, expectations, and imagined outcomes. This constant mental noise forces the brain into a defensive state. Even when the body is still, the mind is sprinting. Over time, this invisible strain consumes more energy than physical labor ever could. Seneca warned about this centuries ago. He wrote that it is not that we have too little time, but that we waste much of it. Wasted time doesn't always look like laziness. Often it looks like busyness without purpose. Activity without direction drains the spirit because it never delivers the sense of completion the mind needs to recover. Stoics understood something modern culture ignores. Effort must be ordered before it is intensified. When you work without a clear hierarchy of what matters, every task feels urgent. When everything feels urgent, nothing receives your full strength. You move faster, but your results grow thinner. You stay busy, but you never feel finished. This creates a psychological loop where rest feels undeserved and stopping feels dangerous, even as your output declines. Burnout is the price paid for confusing motion with progress. Stoicism teaches the opposite. Before acting, the Stoic clarifies intention. Before spending energy, he decides what deserves it. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily not to be pulled into unnecessary activity because distraction weakens character just as excess pleasure does. He didn't measure his worth by how much he carried, but by how well he carried what mattered. When work aligns with values, effort stops feeling corrosive. When effort serves a clear purpose, fatigue becomes manageable instead of overwhelming. If your work is burning you out, the solution isn't more motivation. It's sharper focus, fewer commitments, and emotional discipline. The Stoic outworks others not by pushing harder, but by refusing to waste strength where it doesn't belong. 2. Stoics conserve energy before they spend it. Most people treat energy as unlimited. They assume they can push now and recover later. Stoics knew better. Energy isn't only physical, mental and emotional energy are more fragile and far more costly to waste. You can sleep 8 hours and still wake up exhausted if your attention has been leaking all day. Worry, anticipation, resentment, and the need for validation drain strength long before real work begins. This is why two people can work the same hours and end the day in completely different states. One is tired but clear, the other is depleted and restless. Stoicism begins with a ruthless question: what is actually under my control right now? Everything outside that boundary is an energy trap. Outcomes, opinions, recognition, timing, and other people's reactions do not belong to you. Yet most burnout comes from trying to manage exactly those things. You rehearse conversations that haven't happened. You carry the weight of how your work might be judged. You stress over results still forming. None of this improves performance. It only increases internal friction. Epictetus warned that when you tie your peace to what you cannot command, you give your power away willingly. Stoics conserve energy by refusing that exchange. They invest effort only where action can truly change something: preparation, execution, and response. Everything else is observed, not absorbed. This discipline creates a quiet advantage. When emotional waste is removed, focus sharpens on its own. You no longer need constant breaks because you're no longer fighting yourself. Decisions require less effort because fewer things compete for attention. What once felt overwhelming begins to feel manageable, even demanding work. Modern productivity culture tells you to optimize schedules. Stoicism tells you to optimize interpretation. Two people can face the same workload. One feels pressure, the other feels purpose. The difference isn't talent or stamina. It's how much unnecessary meaning they attach to the task. Stoics strip work down to what it is: an action to be done well, not a verdict on their worth. When you stop spending energy on anxiety, comparison, and imagined futures, you don't become passive. You become precise. Every hour carries more usable strength. Every effort lands cleaner. This is why Stoics appear tireless. They aren't stronger. They're less distracted. Before they work harder, they work calmer. Before they push forward, they remove what pulls them sideways. The fastest way to outwork others isn't adding effort. It's eliminating the hidden costs that quietly exhaust everyone else. 3. They work in focused cycles, not endless hustle. Relentless effort looks impressive. Sustained effort wins. Most people believe productivity means staying on at all times. They fear slowing down means falling behind, so they stretch attention thin across the entire day. The result isn't more output, but shallow work repeated longer than necessary. Stoics rejected this. They understood the mind, like the body, performs best in deliberate cycles of exertion and release. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself to withdraw inward, even in the middle of duty, not to escape responsibility, but to restore clarity. This wasn't laziness, it was maintenance. Without withdrawal, effort decays. Without reflection, action loses direction. Stoics worked intensely, but they didn't confuse intensity with continuity. Endless hustle erodes judgment. When you push without pause, small decisions become heavy, errors multiply, and frustration builds quietly. You may still be working, but the quality of attention declines. This is where burnout begins, not in fatigue, but in cognitive overload. The Stoic solution was simple and disciplined. Work fully, then stop fully. No half rest, no distracted recovery. Focused cycles create depth. In practice, this means giving complete attention to one meaningful task, then deliberately stepping away before exhaustion sets in. Not scrolling, not checking messages, stepping away with intention. Reflection restores order to the mind and prepares it for the next engagement. Over time, this rhythm trains you to enter focus faster and stay there longer without force. Stoics treated rest as a strategic act. They didn't rest because they were weak, they rested because they planned to return stronger. This removes guilt from recovery. When rest is intentional, it stops feeling like avoidance and starts feeling like alignment. You're no longer escaping work, you're protecting its quality. This alone separates sustainable performers from those who peak early and fade. Modern culture glorifies endurance. Stoicism values precision. Working in cycles also protects emotional balance. When effort has a clear beginning and end, frustration doesn't spill into the rest of life. You finish work clearer, not agitated. You return the next day with direction instead of resistance. The nervous system learns that effort is contained, not endless, reducing subconscious stress. The Stoic doesn't ask, "How long can I push?" He asks, "How clean can I work before I step back?" This approach compounds quietly. While others grind themselves dull, the Stoic sharpens repeatedly over weeks and months. Focused cycles outperform brute force because they preserve mental edge. Progress continues without erosion. Burnout thrives in chaos. Mastery grows in rhythm. 4. Emotional discipline is the real productivity advantage. Most exhaustion doesn't come from the work itself. It comes from unmanaged emotion attached to the work. People carry frustration from meetings that should have ended sooner. They replay criticism long after it's spoken. They waste energy proving themselves, defending choices, or worrying about how effort will be perceived. None of this produces results, yet it silently taxes the mind. By the time real work begins, the best energy has already been spent on emotional noise. Stoics trained to stop this at the source. Marcus Aurelius warned that anger, resentment, and pride exhaust the soul more than physical labor ever could. When emotion dictates action, effort becomes reactive. You rush, not because the task requires it, but because the feeling demands release. This creates urgency without direction and motion without control. Productivity suffers even as activity increases. Emotional discipline doesn't mean emotional suppression. Stoics didn't deny feeling. They refused to be ruled by it. They learned to notice emotion, name it, and then decide whether it deserved obedience. Most emotions do not. They are signals, not commands. When you follow every emotional impulse, your workday fragments into internal interruptions that no calendar can fix. Consider how much energy disappears into unnecessary conflict, arguments you never needed to win, explanations you didn't owe, reactions that could have been delayed or ignored entirely. Each one pulls attention away from what actually matters. Stoics cut this waste without hesitation, not out of coldness, but out of respect for their limited strength. Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. This wasn't moral posturing. It was a productivity principle. Stoics knew that arguing, performing virtue, and seeking approval cost far more than quietly practicing discipline. They conserved energy by choosing action over commentary and progress over validation. As emotional discipline improves, work feels lighter without becoming weaker. Decisions feel cleaner. Feedback stops feeling personal. Setbacks lose their sting faster. You move forward instead of mentally looping around the same issue. This creates a calm momentum that others mistake for talent or confidence when it is actually restraint. Modern culture rewards visibility. Stoicism rewards stability. The Stoic doesn't rush to respond. He responds only when response adds value. By removing emotional excess, effort becomes focused instead of frantic. The mind stops leaking energy into resentment, comparison, and imagined judgment. What remains is usable strength, not louder work, better work. This is why Stoics appear composed under pressure. They are not detached from outcomes, they are detached from emotional waste. Their advantage isn't speed, it's control. When emotional discipline is mastered, burnout loses its fuel. Work stops feeling like resistance and starts feeling like execution. This is not a trick. It is the quiet edge that allows endurance long after others are drained by their own reactions. 5. Consistency beats intensity every time. Intensity feels powerful. Consistency builds power. Most people begin with bursts of motivation. They push hard for a few days, sometimes a few weeks, then collapse under the weight of their own expectations. When energy drops, guilt rises. When guilt rises, discipline breaks. The cycle repeats until effort feels emotionally expensive and work becomes something to recover from rather than return to. Stoics refused this pattern. They distrusted intensity because it is unreliable. Seneca observed that what exhausts us is not effort itself, but the way we surge and retreat without rhythm. Extreme effort followed by long withdrawal weakens identity. You stop seeing yourself as someone who works steadily and start seeing yourself as someone who must feel ready to act. Stoicism cuts this dependence at the root. Action comes first. Mood follows later. Consistency is moral discipline. For the Stoic, showing up calmly each day expresses character, not emotion. Work is not negotiated with feelings. It is executed according to principle. This doesn't mean forcing maximum output daily. It means maintaining a minimum standard that never collapses. Even on difficult days, something meaningful is done. This protects self-respect and prevents the psychological damage caused by long gaps in effort. Intensity creates spikes. Consistency creates momentum. When effort is steady, the nervous system stays regulated. There is no constant swing between stress and relief. Progress becomes predictable, which reduces anxiety. You stop asking, "Can I keep this up?" because nothing feels extreme enough to threaten collapse. Over time, small disciplined actions compound into results that intense bursts never reach. Stoics measured success differently. They didn't ask how much they could do in a day. They asked how long they could continue without breaking. This long-view thinking makes work sustainable. You begin to trust your process instead of chasing emotional highs. Focus improves because the mind no longer braces for exhaustion. Motivation becomes quieter, but more reliable. You stop starting over. Modern productivity glorifies extremes. Stoicism rewards endurance. Consistency also removes fear from failure. When effort is steady, setbacks feel temporary instead of catastrophic. You know tomorrow is another chance to apply the same discipline. Confidence stabilizes, emotional burnout weakens, progress feels earned, not fragile. The Stoic doesn't need intensity to feel alive, he needs alignment. By committing to consistency, you build an identity that does not depend on motivation. You become someone who works because it is who you are, not because the moment feels right. This identity survives boredom, doubt, and fatigue. Burnout thrives on extremes. Mastery grows through repetition. This is why Stoics quietly surpass others over time. Intensity burns bright and fades. Consistency accumulates silently. Day after day, small actions stack. Results appear inevitable, not dramatic. To outwork everyone without burning out, you don't need more fire. You need a steadier flame that doesn't go out. 6. Stoics recover faster than everyone else. The difference between those who last and those who burn out is not effort. It is recovery. Most people treat recovery as an afterthought. They work until something breaks, then rest only when exhaustion forces them to stop. This turns recovery into damage control instead of preparation. Stoics approached it differently. They recovered deliberately, consistently, and before collapse. Recovery wasn't a reward for finishing work, it was part of the work itself. Marcus Aurelius wrote about returning to inner calm as one returns home. This wasn't poetic comfort. It was strategy. A mind that recovers quickly can re-enter effort without resistance. A mind that never resets carries residue from yesterday into today, compounding fatigue even when tasks are light. Stoic recovery began with reflection. Instead of numbing themselves with distraction, Stoics reviewed the day. What was done well? What was done poorly? Which reactions were unnecessary? This released mental tension instead of carrying it forward. When thoughts are processed, they stop circling. When mistakes are acknowledged, they lose emotional charge. The mind grows lighter through honesty. Silence played a critical role. Modern rest is loud. Screens, notifications, constant input. This doesn't restore clarity. It fragments it further. Stoics used quiet as medicine. Even brief moments without stimulation allow the nervous system to settle. In that calm, priorities reorganize naturally. Energy returns not because effort was avoided, but because attention stopped bleeding. Sleep, for Stoics, was also discipline. They didn't glorify late nights or sacrifice rest for appearances. Sleep was fuel for judgment. Without it, virtue weakened and errors multiplied. Choosing rest wasn't indulgence, it was responsibility. A tired mind makes poor decisions, and poor decisions cost more energy than rest ever will. Stoics also practiced simplicity to recover faster. Excess desires, commitments, and possessions clutter the mind. The more you feel you must maintain, the less space you have to recover. By keeping life intentionally simple, Stoics reduced emotional maintenance. Fewer obligations meant deeper rest. Less noise meant quicker clarity. This is why Stoics return strong while others need long breaks. They don't collapse and rebuild, they reset and continue. Recovery becomes automatic when built into daily rhythm. A few minutes of reflection, periods of silence, consistent sleep, clear boundaries between work and non-work. None of this is dramatic, but together it creates resilience that intensity can never provide. Modern culture praises endurance through exhaustion. Stoicism values renewal through order. When recovery is intentional, effort stops feeling costly. You trust that strength will return because it always has. Fear of burnout fades, not because you work less, but because you recover better. This confidence changes how you approach challenges. You engage fully, knowing you can restore yourself afterward. The Stoic advantage isn't endless stamina, it is rapid renewal. By mastering recovery, you remove the fear that drives overwork. You no longer push recklessly, just in case. You work with precision, knowing clarity can be regained quickly. This is how Stoics remain effective year after year. They don't avoid effort, they refuse to let it accumulate unchecked. 7. Longevity is the ultimate advantage. Most people work as if life were a sprint. Stoics work as if it were a long campaign. Burnout is often the result of short-term thinking. People push aggressively because they believe opportunity is scarce, time is slipping away, or success must be forced immediately. This urgency feels productive, but it quietly sabotages longevity. When every year is treated like the final chance, the nervous system never settles and effort becomes desperate instead of deliberate. Stoics rejected this mindset completely. They played a longer game. Marcus Aurelius lived with constant awareness of death, yet he did not rush blindly. Memento mori was not about panic, it was about clarity. Knowing time is limited did not make Stoics frantic, it made them selective. They focused on what deserved sustained effort and released what did not. Longevity, not speed, became the true measure of strength. Amor fati reinforced this discipline. To love one's fate meant accepting obstacles without emotional rebellion. Resistance consumes energy, acceptance redirects it. When you stop fighting reality, effort becomes cleaner. Setbacks no longer trigger overcorrection. Delays stop feeling personal. You adjust without draining yourself emotionally, which preserves momentum over years instead of months. Longevity requires restraint. Stoics understood that pushing at maximum capacity all the time is unsustainable. They chose a pace they could repeat indefinitely. This did not mean comfort or ease, it meant intelligent pressure applied consistently, enough challenge to grow, enough restraint to recover. This balance keeps progress alive when others stall or collapse. Short-term thinkers chase visible wins. Long-term thinkers build invisible foundations. Daily discipline compounds quietly, skills deepen, judgment sharpens, reputation solidifies. None of this happens in bursts. It happens through steady presence over time. Stoics trusted this process because it aligned with nature itself. Trees do not grow overnight. Empires are not built in weeks. Strength that lasts is slow by design. Longevity also removes comparison. When success is measured over decades, other people's speed stops mattering. Someone else may surge ahead briefly, but you remain unmoved. You are not racing them. You are building something durable. This detachment protects emotional energy and prevents burnout driven by envy or fear of falling behind. The Stoic does not ask, "How fast can I win?" He asks, "How long can I remain effective?" This question changes everything. Work becomes an investment instead of a gamble. Decisions grow calmer. Risks become measured. You stop sacrificing tomorrow for today. Over time, this creates a reputation for reliability and depth that frantic effort can never replicate. Modern culture rewards visible struggle. Stoicism rewards quiet persistence. Longevity is the ultimate advantage because it multiplies every other advantage. Skill, focus, discipline, and judgment all improve when given time to mature. Burnout destroys this compounding effect. Stoicism protects it. To outwork everyone without burning out, you must stop thinking in days and start thinking in decades. When effort is paced for the long run, pressure loses its power. Work becomes something you can return to again and again without resentment or fear. You don't need to be extreme. You need to be unbreakable. Outworking everyone was never about suffering more than the people around you. It was never about longer hours, louder effort, or constant pressure. That version of hard work creates exhaustion, not mastery. Stoicism offers a quieter, more durable definition of advantage. The Stoic outworks others by removing waste before adding effort, by conserving emotional energy, by focusing deeply instead of constantly reacting, by working in rhythms the mind can sustain, and by recovering with intention rather than guilt. This is how effort stops feeling like a battle against yourself and starts feeling aligned with who you are becoming. Burnout is not a personal failure. It is a structural one. It happens when intensity replaces consistency, when urgency replaces clarity, and when identity becomes tied to output instead of discipline. Stoics avoid this trap because they do not measure success by how drained they feel. They measure it by how steadily they can continue. Calm focus lasts longer than frantic ambition. Order outperforms chaos over time. The greatest advantage is not speed, it is longevity. When you think in years instead of days, pressure loses its grip. Comparison fades. You stop forcing results and start building systems that quietly compound. Each day becomes less dramatic, but far more powerful. Skills deepen, judgment sharpens, confidence stabilizes, progress becomes predictable instead of exhausting. Stoicism does not promise ease, it promises resilience. You will still work hard. You will still face resistance, but you will no longer waste strength fighting your own emotions, your own expectations, or imaginary deadlines created by fear. You work because it is your craft, not because anxiety is driving you. This is how effort becomes clean instead of corrosive. If there is one principle to carry forward, it is this: protect your inner order and your outer results will follow. Cut what drains you, commit to what matters, recover without apology. The people who burn out are not weaker, they are simply spending energy where it does not belong. When you stop doing that, you gain an edge that does not fade with time. Outworking everyone is not about pushing harder, it is about lasting longer, and the one who lasts quietly and consistently always wins.